can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
Hotspur America. From the United States to N17, this is the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
When you're at a club like Tottenham, they expect you to win all the time. Be the best club in the country as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to you each week during the season.
Spurs in full cry here. Lamela! Oh, what a goal! And Christian Eriksen has scored!
I hate Arsenal. I just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! And Cafu's put Tottenham in front! Kane comes to the Emirates, scores for Spurs.
We're the Yids in America.
Carried away, but Dix is there to tap in!
To dare is to do.
Tottenham Hotspur turning on the style. Glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. The Spurs are still marching on.
This is Hotspur America.
Episode 41, Season 4 of the Hotspur America podcast. Here we are after, a good 2-0 win over Watford, but not the greatest performance in the world. And we'll get into that here shortly. Community Beer Company, as always, our sponsor here at the Hotspur America podcast, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. You can also find us on multiple social media platforms. Hotspur America Pod on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker, and iTunes, and also the Apple app on your devices. 2-0 to Watford. A lot of shouts, Chairs, who's with us this week, as well as Tim. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Good to have you on. What are you drinking? You're drinking something fun. It's not a community, and I don't mind saying that.
No,
You got something brand spanking new.
Yes, Sierra Nevada's 2018 Optimum Triple IPA, 9.6 ABV. So watch out, I could be fruity tonight, and I got a little whiskey chaser on the side.
I'm obeying my thirst.
What do you got?
Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Hey, you know what? I'm sipping on a Crystal Light, man. So I got nothing. I got nothing either. All right, but let's get into this. So a lot of social media noise, especially after the Man United Arsenal game at the weekend. How boring that was. A lot of Spurs fans saying, "How in the hell did we not beat that lot in the semi?" You saw why today. You saw why today. For a 2-0 win, that was some sloppy fucking football, Chairs.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. You and I were down the pub, and it was far from entertaining. It was laborious at times. The passing, the possession. Again, it's the theme we've seen in the last three games: Brighton, City, and United. There were moments where we looked like we could be off to the races, and then we would just fall flat on our face. Dyer and Dembele, their passing and their holding play in the midfield was far from acceptable. Particularly Dembele, he was poor. And Sonny, not a good game from Sonny. Ali would go missing at times. I mean, obviously he was there for the goal. I thought Eriksen had a good game. I thought Trippier. It's one of those matches we pointed out. He was in the wars again, and I think he likes being in the wars because it lifted his play. And other than one effort, I think late in the first half that was a bit wayward, he really put in a good shift today. And I think the BBC gave him man of the match. I think I saw on Twitter Lloris, who definitely had to pull off much more important saves than Watford's goalkeeper. So I think Lloris redeemed himself. There was the one outside the box that definitely had us all going, oh, here we go again. But I think he just was able to get there ahead of the Watford player. But really not a lot of highlights, unfortunately. This could be a very short podcast unless we fluff it with other stuff, because there's not a lot of talking points in the match.
Yeah, short because you pretty much just mentioned everything that happened in the match.
and we scored 2 goals, yeah.
So now our predictions for West Brom? No, I'm kidding.
Any shout-outs?
One of the things that really did come about, to me, that is a good positive is Harry. Really nice goal, really nice assist, but a nice little tap in, something that, we talked about him maybe gaining a little bit of confidence last week. This certainly has to go a long ways. Very slight offside for what would have been a brace. Harry looked pretty good today.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. He got the goal, but you can tell he's still not up to form yet. He's still
better second half than first half.
Better second half, and that's for the whole team.
And I think that effort that came off the post from Vertonghen just had him flat-footed, because I don't think he was expecting that to come back, and he just couldn't readjust himself, because that would have been another tap-in. And
right between the legs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, regardless, though, he gets the goal, gets that confidence back. This one, there isn't any doubt that it was his goal, whereas, the last one, did it touch his shoulder? I mean, it had been a while since he had a clear goal that he scored himself. So it's good to get that confidence after everything that's been going on with the FA and the tweets and the PFA ceremony and all that shit this past week and a half. It's good to get him on the score sheet, get that confidence back, and see us through the last 3 games. And who knows, if Salah is suspended for the remainder of the season for throwing that punch, only 4 behind, this can be the fire that Harry needs to push us through to the end of the season, chasing that golden boot.
And the one thing to keep in mind too is we still have a game at hand with Liverpool. So if he goes out West Brom and has tears it up, maybe gets a brace, maybe gets a hat trick, he'll be sitting just 1 or 2 goals behind Salah going into these last couple of matches. And we saw what he did against Leicester and Hull.
Leicester, he picked up 4, I think, right?
Yeah, 4 and 3 in consecutive matches or whatever it was. He picked up 7 in the last 2 matches. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was 4 at Leicester, 3 at Hull.
Yep. So anything's possible. If you look at the matchups on paper, they benefit Tottenham. We still have to play Newcastle, kind of a little bit of a bugaboo team. That match, is that at St. James? Cheers.
No, I think that's
at
Wembley.
Is it at Wembley? Okay, so that bodes well. We have West Brom coming up this week, and then we have. I'm trying to think who I'm missing the 4th team. Or do we have a 4th one? Is there only 3 games?
No,
left?
there's 3 left. So we got.
Okay.
I was wrong. Newcastle's away, and then West Brom and Leicester at Wembley.
Gotcha. Leicester. That's the other one that I was looking for. So. And Leicester, they're in the same boat as Watford. So, listen, Watford had nothing to play for today. They're not getting relegated. They're not making Europe. They're already dead set in their position, as are Leicester, which was very evident on the weekend. And they're 5-0 thrashing against Crystal Palace. Easily Palace's best performance of the year, even though Leicester went down a man and played with 10. There are opportunities here, and I was happy to see a win. Listen, not overly thrilled with the overall performance, but a 2-0 win is a 2-0 win, and I'll take it, walk out, and be happy with that. That's 3 points, puts the magic number at 4. So any combination of Chelsea dropping points and Tottenham picking points up, that equals 4. Given the fact that goal difference will probably remain with Tottenham throughout the rest of the year, we would have that at least 4th place spot. And there's a very real chance, depending on what happens at the weekend chairs, Chelsea-Liverpool play each other. If Liverpool drop all 3 points in that match, there's a very good chance they may not finish in the top 4 at all.
Yeah, I was having mute issues a minute ago. You guys hear me all right, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to correct you, not to make a big point in this, West Brom's away, Newcastle, Leicester are both home. Liverpool-Chelsea, it's a big game.
Then the EPL Live app is wrong.
Yeah, no, it's West Brom at the Hawthorns and Newcastle and Leicester.
I thought Newcastle was home because I remember commenting on...
Well, opening day of season was at their place.
Yeah, I remember talking about that earlier because I like their stadium. I like...
win.
Yeah. So, yes, Chelsea-Liverpool, big game. I think, you got to look at the results on past weekend. No one would have thought that Liverpool, especially after the Roma game, was going to draw a blank at home to Stoke. So that's 2 points dropped after the previous week, dropping points at West Brom. And Chelsea have got the momentum. I mean, if you think about after losing to us, they drew, I think, with West Ham at home, and then they've won their last 3. If you look at our last 3, we're 1-1-1, so we've dropped 5 points while they've picked up maximum. So yeah, they've definitely closed the gap on us. All that nonsense over the weekend, Conte, Morata talking about pressures on us, bollocks. That this isn't that Tottenham team anymore. But I think the pressure's really on Liverpool. They've got 3 draws in their last 4 games, and they're playing away to Chelsea. I really think Chelsea's going to do them. and that's going to make that a 3-point gap on Liverpool. Liverpool have one game to play. If Chelsea win their remaining games, there's still an outside chance they can tie them. The goal difference is not comparable. I think it's a 17 goal difference, but it's definitely going to be a big match. And the fact that we'll have played twice since both teams played this last weekend with our Monday, Saturday fixtures coming up, it really puts us in a much more commanding position. But again, West Brom's not going to be an easy prospect, as both United and Liverpool have found out recently.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, the table is very congested. When you look even at Man United at 77 points, they have a little bit of clearance. They've got as big a clearance to Liverpool as we do to Chelsea right now, so they've got to be feeling pretty good about their position. But they tend to kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, especially with an FA Cup title to play for, and knowing that they're not going to catch City, obviously, for the Premier League title. There's points there to be dropped, so you never know what's going to happen. But I think third is a very real possibility, getting that extra, little bump up into the Champions League, bucket of balls that you get drawn against. Having 3 versus having 4 is a big deal. It really makes
skipping the playoff. That's the biggest thing.
That too, yeah, because you never know what's going to happen in those playoffs. A couple of years ago, West Ham had their
Astra fucking Gugu.
Astra fucking Gugu.
Well, and I hate to be the doom monger, but it's been out there. I think our friends at the Spurs show actually put this permutation out there. This is the worst case scenario, right? Liverpool, they make it to the Champions League final, and they've got one foot in the final. For Lightning to strike twice, and for Roma to go and win 3-0 again and do what they did to Barcelona, I don't see that happening. I think Liverpool play very well on the road, and they're likely to be there. Now, whether they can beat Madrid, as I probably think that's going to be the opponents in the final, is a matter to be seen. But let's say they do. Let's say our friends from N5 pull off another miracle.
I know where you're going with this.
Well, so hear me out, right?
No,
so
I
Liverpool
know,
win Champions League. Arsenal get into the Champions League, and Chelsea take 4th. So we're done at that point, right? Assuming everything stays as it stands, Liverpool in 3rd. And it's a scenario that repeats from 2012 when we were 4th. And at that point, that there was not that 5th spot, and of course Chelsea, I don't know if they were 5th or 6th that season, but they won the Champions League and took our spot from 4th. So it can happen. I don't think it will. I honestly think 3rd is ours for the taking. I think Liverpool, they've got one eye on Champions League final. It'll be interesting to see what team they put out, and obviously what the result and the outcome is on Wednesday will impact what happens on Sunday when they go to Chelsea. But I think, again, as I said, Liverpool do have a good away record, but I think Chelsea are dominant right now. They know they need to go all out to try and get into the top 4. And I think they've got to be looking at Liverpool versus us, really.
So, Chairs, that nightmare scenario you talked about, that was my baptism into supporting Tottenham. That's right when I started supporting.
That season?
The end of the 11-12 season. I was going over to I was going overseas that summer to study abroad. I was trying to decide, which team I wanted to support, looking into them. I was going to go to the stadiums, or I only went to White Hart Lane, but I was planning on going to a stadium for the team that I chose that I wanted to support, and, that's my baptism right before I go. Is my first experience supporting Spurs is that end to the season, and I think it's just fitting. It's just saying, this is what you've gotten yourself into. Good choice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't that day, that final Sunday, that had done us in.
Yeah, it was the final the week after.
Well, no, it's.
Or is it 2 weeks after?
No, it's when we drew at Villa, and everyone was bemoaning the woeful tactics of Redknapp in that game, when we knew we really needed to win, because we won the last game of the season at Fulham. But we really, you got to cast your mind back, and for those who were following Spurs at that time, Harry Redknapp was on tax fraud charges at the same time as he was cleared. In fact, the very day I think he was cleared, Fabio